I want to thank you guys all for coming. I'd like for this to be an interactive discussion. So as we're talking about live streaming, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll try to answer your question if I know the answer. Obviously today our discussion is on live streaming, and there's one key message I wanted to share with you, is that live streaming is probably one of the most powerful channels to help you build and nurture and grow your community. So if you're looking to grow community, I think live streaming video is a wonderful way to do that. So this is kind of just a key message I wanted to share with you before we get started. So I want to go through a couple of things with you. First, I want to share what's happening in online video and some of the trends that we're seeing. I want to share with you some of the business challenges that a lot of us have before we start to get into live video. Challenges that I've had, challenges working at a company that we deal with, and also challenges that you might have. I also want to share a bunch of use cases on how different businesses are leveraging live streaming video, so that you can maybe be thinking about maybe how you can leverage it for your business. And then I want to share with you examples of 360 live video. This is kind of the up and coming trend of shooting 360. So I want to share with you like how brands are leveraging it, what are some possibilities that we might be able to use it for financial literacy, and then share a bunch of different best practices on things that I've learned along the way. I've made tons of mistakes doing live streaming video over the last 3 years, so I'll share with you, among them, not trimming my eyebrows. My wife was quick to tell me, your eyebrows are all messed up. So I'll share with you some best practices on live video and also some of the tools that we use over at Experian. So, and I have some of the tools here. We have some tripods, and I'll share those a little bit. So anyways, so some of the video trends that we're seeing. Right now we're seeing a tremendous growth in online video. Obviously YouTube is the second largest search engine, we all know that. But the projection right now is that by 2018, 76% of web traffic is going to be geared toward video content. So the growth in video is there. If you're not already doing video for your website, for your company, please consider to do it, because live video is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what's fascinating is that Facebook just came out, and as you know, Facebook Live just launched, and Facebook has been, I don't know about you, but if you're looking at your Facebook stream, I'm seeing more and more video content, and Facebook is saying that they're now seeing videos are being viewed 8 billion times a day on Facebook. I mean, it's just amazing to see the growth in video, right? Mark Zuckerberg was questioned at a conference recently and asked about, what's the future of Facebook, and said that basically in 5 years, most of Facebook will be video. So they're seeing that video is a tremendous growth. So definitely, if you've not thought about using it for your business, definitely think about using video, if not live video. Now, the other interesting stat about video is that, at least on Facebook, 85% of users have sound turned off. So this is really important to know, because if you're creating video for Facebook to share out with your friends or for your community, there's a lot of people who are just, they're on the bus, or they don't have access to their earbuds, or they're in the library, and so they might be watching your video, but if you don't have text there, you're losing an opportunity to keep them engaged. So there's lots of tutorials on YouTube on like how to add text, through Camtasia or whatever video editing software you're using. But for special videos that you've made that have really unique messages or really powerful messages that you want to get out to your communities, make sure to add text to video. Because for those of us that are traveling and don't have access to earbuds or don't want to annoy some person next to us, we have our sound turned off. With with Snapchat, it's a little bit different. 1/3 of users have sound turned off. So more people on Snapchat are listening and engaging. And it's much easier to add text on Snapchat, for those of you that know that. It's really simple to type it in there. With video, it is a little bit more difficult to make that extra step to add the text, but very, very valuable. Another thing is that we're seeing this upward trend in the rise of vertical video. So I grew up, horizontal video. That's the way I like watching things. I like watching Netflix movies horizontally. When Periscope first came out, I was like, why is it vertical? Like, this is so weird, like looking at things vertically. And what I found was it was much easier to engage. So the little keyboard that could be at the bottom of the screen was much easier for people to type when it was in portrait mode versus the widescreen, right? So it was easier engagement. And then with the rise of Snapchat over the last 3 years, people, and especially the young generation coming up, have just gotten used to seeing their friends and family using vertical video. And what's also interesting is that the stat is that most people are using their phones 98% of the time in portrait mode already. We're just naturally inclined to hold our phones this way. So to me, there's a tremendous opportunity for brands to begin thinking about building and creating vertical video content. Both YouTube and Facebook will auto-expand your vertical video. So when you're looking at vertical video like on your desktop, it looks kind of annoying because you got those black bars on the side, right? So it doesn't look very pretty. And some brands have used that space to promote URLs and have been very, very creative with that black space. Unfortunately, if you're using that black space for creative reasons, it won't auto-expand to fill out your entire screen if you're looking at the audio video. So if you want to use vertical video, make sure you have those black bars. That way, when you press the button to expand, it'll fill up your entire frame. So I just want to encourage businesses to think about not only horizontal video, but also vertical video, especially for this younger demographic coming up. Now, the live video engagement is phenomenal. I mean, we're seeing on Periscope, which we have a wonderful community on Periscope, we're getting sometimes up to 60,000 hearts per month. We're getting about 5,000 or 6,000 comments per month, and it's just wonderful engagement. And those comments are like fuel for future content, right? The questions that are being asked is just wonderful because it means that they're sharing with us some of the things that are concerning them, some of their challenges, questions, and these become blog posts. So the comments we're getting back from live video is wonderful. And the fact that Facebook came out and said, you know what, people are commenting 10 times more on live video than static video. So the power of live video is there. Also, social media today announced that people spend 3 times longer watching live video than recorded video because there's just something about being there in the moment, right? It's kind of like watching a basketball game, just being there in the moment. If you watch it after the fact, it's not as exciting because sometimes you already know what happened, right? So live video can be very, very engaging, it's very, very powerful, and the metrics are just showing that the engagement level is there. Now, we talked about the power of vertical video, and what we're seeing is that on YouTube, we've seen a 50% increase in uploads of vertical video over the last year. So I think this has been part due to Periscope video that's being uploaded to YouTube so that it gets indexed. This can be Snapchat content that's being uploaded into YouTube. And now with Instagram stories, just another way to create vertical content, to push right into YouTube. So really, really exciting. Now, some of the metrics around advertising and vertical video has been really fascinating. So Snapchat announced that vertical video ads on Snapchat have a 9-time higher completion rate. So people are more likely to stick and watch the whole ad in portrait mode than horizontal. Part of that is just the nature of Snapchat, right? Snapchat is a portrait mode channel, so people that are having to switch over like this, it's just not natural. And so maybe if you're forcing you to do that, you're like, swiping, moving away. But vertical video on Snapchat is definitely, at least the advertising, is that much more engaging. Facebook is also testing vertical video ads in their channel, and they're showing a 3-time better CPM. So if you're looking to do any sort of spending on a vertical video, try testing out horizontal versus vertical to see if you're getting better engagement rates, better reach. Yes?
Sorry, what's CPM?
It's just cost per 1,000 impressions. Yeah, good question. Okay, so obviously the stats are there. We're seeing the tremendous growth in vertical video. We're seeing tremendous growth in live streaming video. Engagement's there. It's a wonderful way to build community. But the challenges, what are some of the challenges that we deal with live streaming video? First, obviously fear, right? Sitting in front of a camera live, we make mistakes, we stutter, we get nervous, right? All that's there. I remember the very first time that I went on Periscope, I didn't know what was going to happen. And so I turned it on and one person joined, 2 people, 3, and I was like, hi, and I was kind of naming people as they're coming on, and then 10, and then 15, and then 20, and then 100. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was testing out the channel, didn't realize anything. I had nothing to say. So I'm just kind of greeting people, hey, welcome, this is our very first Periscope. And then when I ended it, I didn't know how to end it. I was like, thanks guys for watching, we'll be back. And then I just kind of froze. I was like, I don't even know how to stop Periscope. How do you stop it? There's no button to stop. I was trying to power down. I was like, how do you? And the community was laughing at me because I didn't know how to turn it off. And they're like, swipe down, then stop broadcast. I was like, okay, thank you. So I was like, I didn't know what I was doing when I first got on Periscope. But there's definitely a lot of fear. A lot of brands are fearful of jumping on live streaming because we're vulnerable, because we're being in the moment, we're being real, we can make mistakes. But you know what? All that makes us more human. I think it all makes us more relatable, and I think it's a very, very powerful medium. Another big problem for brands, right? The trolls, right? Not these cute trolls. I'm talking about the trolls that are just mostly men and young boys who just have nothing better to do but just want to cause disruption, and they're annoying, unfortunately. People that are using profanity, right? That's not appropriate for your audience. People that are just trying to make fun of you. Unfortunately, in every social channel, there's always going to be the trolls that are there. With Periscope, I think they've done a great job of allowing brands to be able to, knock people out. And I think it was Tanya Rapley who, when I first heard her say it, someone was being inappropriate at one of her scopes, and Tanya Rapley was like, okay, welcome to the block party. Blocked them, just like that. So, yeah, the block party. So I think you just have to kind of take, you can have thick skin, but also just kind of like have fun with it. Like, hey, if someone's being inappropriate, welcome to the block party, you're out. And just like letting the community know you're not going to deal with people who are going to be using profanity or trying to bully, being inappropriate, because that's going to just bring down the entire discussion. It's going to distract you from what you're trying to do. What's wonderful, I have Marina here, and she does an amazing job of like helping to block. Marina speaks 4 different languages and knows how to understand 6. So it's great when we have, since Periscope is global, when things come up on screen, Marina can actually just respond back in the language and just kind of sometimes settle things down. But having access to be able to block the trolls, I think, is key. So just remember, welcome to the block party. I think it was Tanya Rapley. I think Sandy Smith also does that. So yeah, that's how I deal with the trolls. Okay, the other thing is budget, right? It costs money to buy, to invest in things that you need. The tripods, I'm gonna share with you some budget-friendly things that you can do if you wanna do live streaming. I mean, obviously you can just use your phone. That's the cheapest way to do it. But if you wanna do things a little more professional, get some lenses, get some lights, I'm gonna share with you some tools on how you can do it, because there is sometimes an investment to make yourself look better on live streaming video. Like I said, my wife was like, you need to trim your eyebrows. I was like, what? She's like, I watched your video. Let me work on your eyebrows. Like, let me work on my eyebrows. I'll share with you some frugal ways to kind of work on helping to do this. Like I said, my 360 live streaming video camera cost me $350. So I looked at a whole bunch of them. You can definitely go pro and do like the GoPro cams, or I think it's like 4 or 5 GoPro cams in a circle. And that can cost you around $9,000 to do live streaming 360 or just 360 video. That's like out of my budget. I'm not gonna spend that much money, especially as technology is changing and who knows what cameras come out next year. But I was looking specifically for a live 360 camera that would work well on YouTube Live and also Facebook Live. And I found this Ryko Theta that I'll talk a little bit more later. So there's definitely things that you can get around. Another challenge is the technology. I got Skeletor here. You know what? Technology is constantly changing. The channels are changing. We love Snapchat, and all of a sudden Instagram Stories comes on the scene. And you're like, okay, now what? Should I go over to Instagram Stories? Like I said, 360, it's like a whole new technology. Editing these really, really large video files, it's like a learning curve for all of us that are doing it. So when it comes to technology, it's like we're all learning, we're all growing, we're all testing things, so don't be afraid of the technology. And what's great is YouTube has lots of tutorials. So I'm learning a lot on YouTube about 360. Yeah?
Speaking of technology, is there a way to do Facebook Live on your laptop, or do you have to use your phone?
You can use your phone. I think there's a way you can actually stream Facebook Live from your desktop using Huzzah?
OBS also.
OBS, yeah, OBS is a open source platform where you can stream with your Facebook stream key, and also Huzzah.io will allow you to do that as well.
Do you know the price points of those ones? Are they...
Oh, OBS is free. OBS is free, open source, so actually I'm using OBS right now. And
it's a little tricky to get set up the first time, but
yeah,
it works great once you get
it does work great, and there's...
It's so tricky to try and answer questions on the screen, and to, I just found it very difficult. I thought it would be a lot easier if I could use both hands on the laptop.
Yeah. There's it seems like there's different platforms popping up every single day. I mean, I was using Blab for a while for doing, interviews, and then Blab died, sadly. I've been using Google Plus Hangouts on Air for the longest time, and now it's converting to YouTube Live, which is like the same thing, just a new name, but you can't do comments. It's really weird. I hope that they solve that quickly. But what's great about OBS and that technology is that there's lots of great YouTube videos that will explain like how you can do it. And there is going to be like time where you have to sit there all day and like figure out, okay, how do I put in my stream key? Where is the stream key at? How do I plug it in? The nice thing about OBS or using Huzzah, which is a paid subscription, I think it's like $15 a month, is that you can add transitions, you can share your desktop, you can show slides, so you do it more like a webinar. So you have that kind of like a webinar format. So that's really nice with using those pieces of software.
What was the name of it again?
There is Huzzah.io and then OBS. Is that? Yeah, OBS. And that's open source platform for pulling in your streams.
How do you spell Huzzah?
What's that?
How do you spell Huzzah?
Oh, HUZZA.io. And that's a paid model. I think it's around $15 for using it. But what's great about that live streaming platform is that you can actually set up your event ahead of time and collect email addresses. So everyone who's going to be attending your event, you're collecting their email address. You can then notify them, ahead of time. And also, you're capturing leads for your business. So it's more like a webinar style. And then you can also record it and get analytics on that as well. Okay, so my ultimate message for brands. Anybody seen Stranger Things yet? Yeah, Stranger Things is awesome. So brands, don't be afraid of live streaming. Embrace it to love your community. Like I said, if there's one key message out of here is that it's just a powerful way to nurture and grow your community and love your community. Sandy Smith, who's here, she is always on Periscope, always talking and sharing with her community. She does a wonderful job. Make sure you're following Yes, I Am Cheap on Periscope. She does a fantastic job. Okay, so now let's talk about, so great, you decided to use Facebook Live, or you decided to use Periscope or YouTube Live, whatever channel you decided to use. Now what do you want to do? So let me share with you a lot of different businesses and how they're leveraging live video. So obviously, Facebook has a huge investment in live video. They're spending a lot of money with Facebook Live. They're actually paying companies to leverage Facebook Live because they want to get more viewers. They're also, Mark and Zuckerberg also put an investment and bought Oculus Rift, which is like a 360 video technology. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens with that, with maybe possibly live streaming 360 video content in the future with Facebook. So that's possibly coming up. But Mark Zuckerberg comes up. I don't know, have you ever seen one of his live streams on Facebook at all? If you haven't, just check him out. He kind of walks you through his office. He'll share about updates on his company. But he's really trying to take the lead, and he wants other businesses to do it, so he's going to take the lead and do it himself as well. And so he'll take you through the offices, show you around. I was watching one video where he was wanting to introduce the Oculus Rift team, which is the 360 video team, and as he was going through the hallways, he was trying to get into the office, and the key card wasn't working. Like, he couldn't get in, and Mark Zuckerberg's like, I just own this place. I just can't get into the doors. He had to just roll with it. So I thought it was fun that he's kind of like had fun with those little things, those little mistakes.
They changed them all.
Yeah. Over at Experian, we were doing a weekly job scope where we were helping to share. We had our recruiters jump on to answer job questions. So like, if anybody had questions about job hunting, how to build a resume, how long are recruiters looking at resumes? How should you build a nice polished LinkedIn profile? We had our recruiters jumping on. This is Chris Brady, who's awesome. He was jumping on just answering questions, and it was an opportunity for our business to share about open positions. So we actually started getting resumes through Periscope. So that was really, really cool. So it's just a creative way. There's so many different ways you can leverage live video. So just putting on recruiters, and his job was not only to share about jobs at Experian, but also just helping people out, helping people understand how to build a nice resumes. And he was just sharing like, guys, I only have like 20 seconds to look at a resume. Here's the things that I'm looking for. And he would just share his tips, and people could ask questions. And so we've been running Job Scope, and we're hoping to bring this back every single Monday. Everyone knows Pat Flynn. Pat Flynn does an awesome job. What I thought was really, really cool And amazing was when he was writing, after he wrote his book, Will It Fly, right, he actually did an audio book, as you'd expect. And when he went into the studio, he brought Periscope with him. And he just live streamed him reading his book, which I thought was brilliant because he's not only promoting his book, but he's letting his community in a very vulnerable moment to see him record him reading his book. And so as he was making mistakes, he was just kind of like making jokes of it and going through it. And I thought it was so cool. He's so transparent, so real. And I think that's a beautiful way for businesses to, be transparent, show what's happening behind the scenes at your company or things that you're doing. If you're a blogger, like what's your day like? How are you using your time? How are you productive? So I just love this example. Product launches. So you're launching a product. Maybe it's your first ebook. Maybe it's an app that you're developing. You can use this technology to talk about it ahead of time, to kind of stir the pot, get people talking about it, get your product noticed. SanDisk, which is a huge company, when they were launching a brand new product, they ended up using Periscope. And because they were one of the first brands to come out and use Periscope for live streaming, that not only got a great audience on Periscope, but they got a lot of buzz because a lot of journalists were writing about, oh wow, here's this huge brand using a brand new channel to show off a new product. And then DIY video guy Caleb, who actually lives here in San Diego, he does tutorials. He was doing tutorials showing how to do some video editing on Instagram. And so I thought this was really, really clever and a creative way for him to kind of showcase his skills. His username is DIY video guy, and this could help him. He was giving tutorials in hopes of maybe getting some business his way for people to use his video services. Also, Adobe has done a tremendous job on Periscope showing how to use their different tools. So the Adobe Cloud, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, they'll get their designers on and actually show you how to leverage their tool, answer questions live. And I love how Adobe has been just embraced live video. SAP, again, another huge company, does a lot of live streaming at conferences. And obviously here, we have a lot of podcasting going on. A great way to use live streaming is just doing interviewing people. That's something that we do at Experian. We have Rod Griffin back here, who's our Director of Public Education. Every Wednesday, Rod, and we bring on different personal finance experts. We have Marsha Barnes here, Jason Vitug. Every week we bring on these experts to share their thoughts on different personal finance topics. And so here's an example of Blab, which no longer exists, with the 4 cubes. We also use YouTube Live, but it's a great way to create content. It's similar to just doing a podcast, where you're just bringing somebody on, having a chat, and live streaming makes that possible because they could be anywhere in the world. You can have that discussion with them. I think the farthest I've talked to somebody was somebody in Thailand for video. And so it's really cool the things you can do with live streaming video.
You can't do that interview concept on Facebook Live, like that sort of hangout thing?
You can do it. I think you have to use other software right now. I read that Facebook Live is beginning to test the ability to do it within its own platform. And I'm sure this is on the way for Facebook, but they're slowly rolling it out. Right now, if you want to do interview style, you do need to use like an OBS or a Wirecast to use the stream keys to pull in Skype video, Facebook video, or whatever to actually assemble it. That's a great question. But I'm sure Facebook is on the way to do video interviews like this, so you don't have to use other services. Okay, so the other big key thing here is that consistency is key. Like to build community, as you know, whether it's blogging, whether it's podcasting, like you got to be consistent with it, right? So, Sandy, she is very consistent about her midnight podcast, her midnight scopes. You got to be consistent so that they know when you're going to be there, when they can expect you. There's somebody I follow, Wayne Coley, who does, he's a comedian, and all during the NBA Finals, during halftime, he was there talking with his community about the game. And so I knew every time at halftime, I'd jump on Facebook Live to see what he was saying. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be every single day of the week. It could be a certain day of the month. It could be a certain season that you're gonna be rolling out a product, so you want to do like every day this week, we're going to be talking about this thing, join me. There's different ways you can do it, but consistency is key. Okay, so now let's talk about live 360 video. Any questions? Yes?
Yeah, before you get into the Live 360, if you use something like Google
Yes.
Not necessarily on Facebook, but like I have this.
Oh, okay. So I know with whenever you're doing like a Google Hangout on Air, which is now YouTube Live, it auto records. So it'll automatically save for yourself, and then you can immediately unlist it, right, and download it for yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so you can do it like that. Facebook Live, I'm not sure about Facebook video. Can you download your Facebook video after you're done at Facebook Live? I've never done it.
You can.
You can? Okay.
Yeah. And there's YouTube videos that tells you exactly how it's really.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, so I guess you can also do it on Facebook. I think if you were to upload it to YouTube, the video would be like a big square, right? Because it won't be like the vertical video, because the way that Facebook video is, like it's like a square at the top, right, with the comments below, which is actually a smart way of doing it. Except it works on Facebook, but when you upload it to YouTube, it doesn't look right, right? You'd have to really, you're gonna have the black bars unless you branded it. So that's the only thing about that.
And is it the same with Periscope as well? Can you?
You can download Periscope, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
I was in someone else's Facebook Live video and I wanted to like link to it.
Yeah.
There's not a way, is there, to link to their Facebook?
You can generally share it out. And depending on where that video is, there's different rules. So, right, so if that Facebook Live is happening within a group, like a private group, I think you cannot. I think it's like restricted because it's like only for that particular group that broadcaster wants to do it to, so it's not possible to share it out. But if it's a public live stream, you should be able to share and then like and engage with it. So there's some weird rules around Facebook Live in groups. Unfortunately, because I do a lot of public things so that I can have that engagement. I want to have those comments coming in. And it's also a barometer for how your content is doing, because you can then go back and see where were the peaks, where were the valleys of likes in your Facebook video, to then see, oh, people really were interested when we talked about this topic. I should really either write a blog post or do another video on that topic. And then as things kind of die down or come back up, you can kind of pinpoint what were the high points that then can fuel future content. That's a really, really good question. Is there another question? Yes.
I've only used Facebook Live 3 times.
Yes.
And, it always just goes to my personal page.
Yes.
So can I put it on my business page?
Yeah, so you can log in as your business on your business page and just broadcast it as your business. You can also do it within if you have a Facebook group, you can also broadcast just in your Facebook group. But you have to be signed in as the brand, so as your business, not your personal.
That's transparent though, because when I'm signed in personally, if I just go to any of my pages,
Yeah.
I'm the brand.
Yeah,
So if I'm just on that page, I just go live. right?
you can go live, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And if you download, I just checked, if you download the Pages app, if you have like a business page, I just checked my app, you can sign into the Pages app and then it'll be live.
Awesome, good question. Any other questions? Okay, yes.
Okay, so I've tried it a couple times, and I probably have only like 500 fans on Facebook. So like nobody comes on, and what do you recommend when you're just starting out?
Yeah.
To get more engagement and make it worth your while.
Yeah, so I always think about these new channels, like when we first started doing Snapchat, right? We launched Snapchat, no one's following us. And it's like, we're gonna spend all this time creating content for nobody, because that content's gonna expire in 24 hours, right? And it's like, I'm just talking to nobody. So I'm very like, when I'm thinking about using these channels, I'm like, how can we use it for the long term? How can we make it live longer? So initially, when you first start out, yeah, you're not gonna have that many viewers. But if you're thinking about creating content for the long term, you download it, right? You can then repackage it and put it on YouTube. You can take the audio, make it a podcast. You can do a blog post, embed that video there, and that way it gets more views over time. And it's okay if nobody shows up, because think of it as you're creating video content that will live a long time and will become searchable within Facebook. Oops, oh, I'm sorry. My Outlook. Yeah, yes.
And then I'm sorry, were you done, or were you gonna do a segment on the 360?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too,
Okay,
yes.
'cause I have a question.
Okay, good. Yeah, so Live 360 and 360 videos it's really fun. This is my 360 camera right here. I'm using the Ryko Theta S. It costs around $350. You can definitely get better cameras. Right now, the streaming quality is not really good, so there's some blurriness, but it gives people a chance to kind of see what's happening. And I think that what's really fascinating about this is that 360 and Live 360 is kind of like a step into virtual reality. It's like the first step into that type of content. And I had a conversation with Kevin a little bit earlier about how brands are thinking about, like Amazon is thinking about creating like these like shopping mall virtual experiences where you can actually, with these VR glasses, shop and actually try on clothes, try on makeup, shoes, and you're there 360 looking at yourself in a mirror and then like tapping a button and you bought it, right? And then the drone drops it off at your house, but the idea is like, if you can get into this VR, into this like 360 environment, immersion leads to conversion. That's like the idea, like, because you're immersed in it. And 360 is going to be very powerful. I think that I was reading about how the NFL might begin to get 360 cameras down on the field where you can pay extra fees to get a 360 view of like the 50-yard line, the 30-yard line, so that you're in control of what you want to see. And I can only imagine, like, I want to see Beyonce in Tokyo, and I can pay for that 360 experience, get that camera there, and then you got the ticket pass. You can look at the stage, look at the audience. So I think the power is there. It's going to be amazing to see what happens over the next couple of years with 360. I'm really excited about it, but I'm also, as I'm involved in financial literacy, I'm thinking, okay, how can we, as financial literacy advocates, help protect people from overspending, right? Because the idea about immersion leads to conversion. Retailers will be able to take advantage of this to like get people to, try on the clothes virtually, put on the makeup or whatever, and you're kind of experiencing and getting excited. You're more likely to buy. And I was like, oh man, there's got to be some new, like in the future, I picture like a Tiffany the Budgetnista plug-in, right? that you have right there. That just like before you buy, Tiffany pops up. Like, wait a minute, didn't we talk about this earlier? Like, let's look at your budget. Boom, Mint app comes up. Here's your budget. Let's think about this. Let's set aside a budget for that item before you. So I'm just thinking about, as financial literacy advocates, we need to be thinking about how can we leverage 360 to educate, to help protect people from overspending. But I think 360 is cool. We're thinking about ways that we can leverage more Live 360 video because it does make experiences more memorable. And I think there's also some really cool things on the way. Facebook is working on a game called Climb, which is there to not only have a fun game, but also to help people with fear of heights, where when you play the game, you're actually climbing a mountain and you look down, right? And it's like, oh my gosh. And it's supposed to help people with fear of heights, but it's also a game of climbing. And so there's going to be definitely some great educational opportunities. I love that the company Tom's, the buy a pair of shoes, give a pair of shoes. So Tom's has you should check this out on YouTube. They have a great 360 video where Tom's went out to a village and they kind of showed the whole experience of them in a Jeep driving along in this remote area, and you can kind of like look down at them talking in the Jeep or look inside the Jeep or what they had in there, or then look around the surroundings. It was gorgeous. And then they arrive at this village and they gave you a tour, and then through the editing process they added words. So as you scrolled around, different key messages were in different locations. So it was really neat. So no matter where you looked, Tom's was giving certain messages about who this person was, what was happening here. And so you can kind of watch that video over and over again and get totally different views, a totally different experience based on what you were looking at. So really, really cool. And then what's really nice also is teachers are beginning to incorporate this in the classroom. So this younger generation coming up, Google made these like 360 cardboard glasses that were like $10, started shipping them off to schools with the idea of helping to show children different parts of the world with Google Maps, Google Earth 360, right? So that they could take, if they're learning in geography class about, South Korea, let's go there and put on the glasses and let's look around the streets and what do you see? And so it's really neat to see the kids, getting exposed to 360 already. So I can just imagine like what's coming up, and how we can leverage this, because there's some really memorable things that are being done in 360. Part of Live 360 or just 360 in general is that you feel immersed, you feel included in that event. And like I said, I think it's going to be really big for things like basketball games, football games, concerts where you might not be able to attend in person, but you want to be involved, you want to see it live. And with 360, it's going to be possible as the technology gets better and better and better. And like I said, right now, like especially with my cheap camera, the quality is not so good, but it's getting better. It's getting better and better and better. And I can just imagine like what's going to happen in the future as, streaming gets better, the quality is better. You're going to feel like you're right there at that show, at that performance, at that play, or whatever it is you want to see around the world. So I love this from, here we got Bolt. But Brands 360 video is your first step into creating virtual reality content. So this is like, with 360, it's not virtual reality because you can't like peek over the chairs, but it's a first step into creating a memorable experience where people can look around and you're no longer the director. The person who's watching the video is the director. They're deciding what they want to look at. Okay, so now I want to share with you a bunch of different best practices, things that I've learned along the way. Does anybody ever watch His and Her Money? Talat and Ty? Yeah, they do a fantastic job. Here's one of their scopes. And one of the things I just wanted to share right off the bat is that don't get too married to a platform because things change all the time. Focus more on your community. So it's not about the channel, it's all about the community and how you're going to help your community. Because if you do a really good job, as channels evolve, as they change, you can bring them over with you, okay? So, like I said, as we've been building community on Snapchat, and now that we have Instagram stories, like where are things headed? We're still testing things out. Instagram stories, I think, is a great place for a lot of businesses to start doing in-the-moment video. And I think for brands that are not comfortable with doing live streaming yet, Instagram stories is a great way to start to get comfortable with it. Because you can go ahead and make that 10-second video and post it and kind of get comfortable with in-the-moment type style video. And what's different with live streaming and with in-the-moment video like Instagram stories is that Instagram video photos are really like polished generally, right? It's like the best of ourselves, very polished. You choose your frame, it's cropped and edited, everything looks really good. With Snapchat, Instagram stories, it's raw. It's real. It's like, this is how I woke up in the morning. Hello, so it's kind of fun, more real, more transparent. And anyways, I just wanted to say that the first thing about another best practice is just to focus on your community. And the channels may change. When I first started in social media, it was all about MySpace. MySpace was it. Like everyone was on MySpace. I remember reading a quote from this like 16-year-old girl who told her mom, if you're not on MySpace, you don't exist. So things change, things evolve, and we just have to adapt. But if we do a really, really good job of helping our communities, they'll move with us. Okay, another best practice is testing, and this is like key, right? Testing out your Wi-Fi connection if you're not plugged in, testing out your microphone, testing out your lighting equipment, how you're going to look. Are you going to have a good Wi-Fi where you're going to be streaming from? Battery power, man. Does anybody do Pokemon Go at all? Right, so it just drains your battery, your phone. Or if you do Snapchat, it just drains your battery. So look at, I have this big old battery right here. It cost me $30, but it'll actually recharge my phone 6 times. So it's a nice investment. So I use that whenever I'm live streaming. That way, when I'm done with our hour-long stream, my phone is fully charged up. I didn't use up anything, and that's really important that you have that power running. So you want to test things. With Facebook Live, you can do video just with yourself, only me, so you can test it that way. With Periscope, you can also do your own video and just scope with a friend to test out commenting and how that's going to look. Generally, with Periscope, when we do our videos, we're there to engage. We're there to interact with our community. Now, right now, we're on Periscope, so I'm not able to respond. I can't see what's on the screen. But Marina is here actually commenting. So Marina is actually on her phone letting people know that are just joining on, oh, this is Mike. he's sharing how we're using live streaming for brands. So we can do a little bit of engagement that way.
So sorry, what was the battery thing that you use? Some sort of battery pack, is it?
This battery?
Is it like, yeah, it just helps your phone keep charged?
Oh, what's that?
It keeps charging your phone, is that?
Yeah, so it just keeps charging my phone. And it'll recharge my phone 6 times. So it's a very powerful, in fact, we have a blog post that I'll be sharing. It's ex.pn/equipment, and it has a listing of all the equipment we use at Experian. I will add the battery, because the battery is not there, but I'll add that to it, and I'll share a little bit more. The URL is just, I'll put it on the screen, it's ex.pn/equipment. So another thing about live streaming is that you want to make sure that you choose a wise topic, right? So similar to writing a blog post, like you can use a similar blog post headline that would work really well for you and choose that as your topic and then just talk about it. There's Amanda Bella, she was talking about, focusing on service and helping your community. So, if you're thinking about what you should talk about, well, think about what resonates with your community. What are some blog posts you've written in the past? What are some videos you've done or podcasts you've done that have really taken off or gone viral for you? Like that can be a perfect topic for you to touch in a live streaming environment where you can then answer questions. Okay, now when it comes to promotion, so if you're not doing it consistently and you haven't built a community and then you're first starting out, right, you're like, well, who's gonna show up? So you have to really do a lot of promotion ahead of time. And there are some best practices that I was looking at was just webinars. Like how do businesses do webinars? How do they promote? And what we see is 58% of people that are signing up for webinars, it happens that week. So, and generally I find that the week before you're gonna go live, you wanna do a lot of promotion across all your social channels on what you're gonna be doing. If you have an email list, send out an email 2 days before that you're gonna be going live on a certain day and time to build up excitement for that event. So I think the webinar data is very, very helpful when it comes to live streaming. So just do a lot of promotion. Does anybody watch Savings Atlanta Moms? Quita, like she does a fantastic job. She's like really encouraging, really inspiring. If you're on Periscope, make sure you're following Savings ATL Moms. She is very motivational. She does a really good job of making sure that she's well lit. And so lighting is really, really important to make sure that you look good on camera, that everyone can see exactly what you are pointing out. And so I put this little message that you can't ignite your audience if you aren't lit, right? So stay lit. All right, the next thing is like tracking the questions and the comments that come through. So as you start to get more engagement, like I said, we get about 6,000 comments through Periscope every single month. We take and we track every single question because those questions are fuel. It's fuel for future content. It's fuel for what we're going to talk about in the future. It's the heartbeat of what our community cares about. So it can be taught. I mean, we get questions that are asked again and again and again, which is a good reminder. You know what? It doesn't matter that we covered that 2 months ago. We need to talk about it again because we have new people in our community that have not been exposed to this, but we just need to cover it in a different way so it doesn't bore the audience that already knows the answer. So we have to think of creative ways to do it. But the comments, the engagement, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's not really about how many people are following you. It's all about how many people are actually engaging with you. That's really what matters. The follower count number on Periscope, that's a vanity number. Who's actually intentionally engaging with you, that's who you want to be looking at and analyzing. That's what matters, your community. Okay. So if you're doing Periscope video or Snapchat or Instagram stories, like in the moment type video, you want to make sure that your, the top third of your screen, that's where like the main visuals are going to be. The bottom third, especially when you're on Periscope, is going to be comments. So comments can be coming up on the screen, so things may not be visible halfway down. So just keep that in mind if you're doing Periscope. If you're doing it in a landscape mode, it's going to be on the right-hand side. So comments will be up here on the left. So just be mindful as you're doing these events, like where comments will be. If you're doing Facebook, you don't have to worry about it because Facebook solved it by just like having a video at the top and then comments scroll at the bottom. All right, anybody follow Ebong, Eka? Yeah, Ebong is amazing. Definitely follow him on Periscope. Ebong does a really, really good job of not only sharing his key message, sharing his tip of the day, but also engaging with everyone. And he'll call out people by name. He'll thank people who are sharing his scopes. He will shout out people who are regulars. And that's a big part of live streaming, is just recognizing your community, thanking them, giving them shout outs, showing love to your community. That's a big part of live streaming. And so be mindful of that. It can be sometimes distracting when you first get started because you're there on a mission. Like, I want to share a certain thing with my community, and people are jumping on. You're like, oh, hey. And that can be, it can be distracting, but you want to just kind of take time and figure out how you want to do that throughout your live event, on how often you want to be sharing with your community, giving the insights, giving the best practices, but then also engaging and thanking people along the way. So it's kind of giving a balance, and especially thinking about the people who are jumping on later on. So kind of giving quick recaps. So sometimes somebody will share your Periscope or your live stream, and all of a sudden you get a bump, right? You'll get this bump in viewership. All of a sudden you're at 20 viewers, and all of a sudden you get 60, and then 70, and that's because maybe somebody shared it, and now you're getting more viewers. So then at that point, it's important to give a quick recap and thank everybody. Oh, guys, I want to thank everyone who's just tuned in. Today we're talking about this topic. Just to quickly recap, and just give a quick recap and move on to what you're doing, just to be mindful of the new people jumping on.
What do you do with the first 30 seconds of your content? Do you wait till people join in, or do you start right away?
I like to start right away. I think especially with video and live streaming, it's really important. You want to engage right away. So usually right when we click on the camera, start recording, we will immediately just thank everyone. Thank everyone who's watching the replay, because no one's watching at that point, right? Thank everyone who's watching the replay. Today we're going to talk about this, and this, and then people start jumping on, and then kind of welcoming each person individually. And then I like to jump right into the content, so as quickly as possible. And I'll share with you a template that I use in just a bit on how I do that. So I'm going to get there really quickly. Here's Pat Flynn. I think tracking the engagement metrics are really, really important. So on each live streaming channel, there's different metrics. There's replays, there's plays, there's hearts if it's Periscope, there's likes, there's also hearts on Facebook. So knowing how your content is doing, especially throughout the hour, and seeing the peaks and the valleys, that can help inform you of what content was really resonating with your audience. YouTube Live or Google Hangouts on Air also had an applause meter that was allowing you to see when people were applauding certain sections. Facebook has the hearts and the thumbs up and all that. Periscope has the hearts. And like I said, for those really important live videos that are really important to you, things you think you've done a really good job, man, download that and either upload it to YouTube or save it for if you want to sell it later on, as a product. Make sure you're just taking your best stuff and saving it, because you just in case something happens to it, you don't want to lose it. So here's kind of my template. You're asking about how to use the first 30 seconds. So here's kind of my template. And I use the word WISER as kind of a quick and easy acronym. But first is welcome. So the W is for welcome, to welcome your audience, welcome them by name. Sometimes the Periscope name or name might be a little bit hard to pronounce, but just kind of welcome everybody as they're coming in. And like I said, if you start getting a bump in viewership because of a share, you might need to welcome people again in the middle of your event. So just keep that in mind. So you welcome, you then introduce your topic, whatever your headline is. You want to share, hey today guys, we're going to be talking about this subject. I want to share with you, 4 things that you can do to do X, X, Y, Z. Then you share your insights. And as you're sharing your insights, you're also answering questions that are relevant. So you're sharing your insights around that topic, and then you're also engaging as appropriate. Because you'll get questions that are not necessarily part of that discussion, but it's still a good question. So you can say, hey John, that's a great question. I'll answer that after we're done. And then for the questions that are relevant to what you're talking about, you can deal with them right there and say, oh, Michael, that's a good question. Let me share with you my thoughts on that. And then at the very, very end of your broadcast, recap. So that's really, really important to kind of give a quick summary at the very, very end of your broadcast. Just quickly recap everything that you covered that was really, really important for your community to know, so that those that join late can still get the main message of what you talked about. So that's the way I like to kind of structure my live stream, the wiser approach. Okay, so I like, this is my little tweetable thing. Live streaming is a key way to keeping your community locked in. I mean, it's a great way to obviously engage. We saw the stats earlier on, right? About people are 10 times more likely to watch live video on Facebook than recorded video. It's just much more engaging, much more interesting, especially as friends jump on. So you're not only there interacting with your friend or someone that you know, or an influencer that you appreciate, but then also oftentimes you'll find other friends joining on in, so the comments can go back and forth, and it's just a fun way to have that. Okay, so frugal tools. I want to share with you a lot of the technology that we're using, some of the things that are actually pretty cheap that you can buy to get started. So this first one is called a Mi Photo Sidekick 360, and what's cool about it is I was looking for a tool that would allow me to do the vertical video and the horizontal video, and you can easily stretch it out so that your big camera or small camera can fit in, and then you can also easily move it. So you can be horizontal, you can be in vertical mode or horizontal mode, depending on how you want to do it. And it also will stand on its own. So if you wanted to get creative and do some Snapchats on the ground, you can actually sit there and you can actually record on the ground if you wanted to like that. But it's heavy enough so that it's stable. So you don't even need a tripod. You can actually just put it right on your desk and it'll be in that position. So this runs about $30. The next,
Can it be on a tripod if you needed to?
yes, in fact, Marina here has it on her tripod. So it screws right in. Right on the bottom, there's different types of screws, and it can screw right into your tripod. Now, as far as lenses, these are really important. I like to use, right now we're using a wide angle lens, and I've tried a lot of different types of lenses, and because I have a case over my phone, sometimes some of these lenses require like its own case to go with the lens, and that was like too time consuming for me. I was popping out my case my phone out of its case and then popping it into a new case, and to me that was just, it wasn't fast enough. So I moved over to this clip, and so it's called the CamKix 3-in-1 camera lenses. That gives you the fisheye, gives you the wide angle lens, and then the magnified lens. And so it just literally just clips on right over your lens. So this works really, really well, and it's $13, $13.99. So that's really, really reasonable.
Where do you get that from? You send it online?
I ordered it on Amazon. Yeah. Any other questions about that?
What do the lenses do? I mean, wide angle, obviously, but what is just the regular one? Is just kind of clear?
Yeah, so because with, depending on the video you're using, some periscope, sometimes it's already kind of zoomed in. And so by using the wide angle lens, it opens it up, especially if you have more than one person on the stream. So a lot of times with our scopes, I'll be with Christina and we'll be chatting together. So we'll put it on wide, that way it's a little bit more easier to see us both in vertical mode. Now obviously you could just shift it over to be horizontal, but because we want to really create more vertical video content, we're sticking with vertical. That's a good question, Katie. Okay, so then the other thing I wanted to share is this CamKix Bluetooth remote. It is right here. And this is only, what is it, $8. And what's nice about it is, especially for doing Instagram stories or Snapchat video, and you want to be a little more creative where you don't have to be holding on to the record button, with this, you just hold it down like this. So you can set your phone over here and press record and just hold your record button and go ahead and talk to the camera. So it'll help you with live streaming or Snapchat stories. And like I said, it's $8. And you can get really creative with doing your video that way. Okay, if you want to spend a little bit more money, I'll share with you the pros and cons of this. This is the iOgrapher case. Have it right here. This is what it looks like. And you can easily attach your microphone. This is just a Rode mic. This costs $99, but if you're in like a windy area, this can be helpful. It attaches on your light to it, and then your phone snaps in the back, and they have different sizes based on whatever phone you use. Okay, and then up here is where you can attach lenses. And so I purchased the, again, the wide angle lens, and it screws right on, just like that. So this is the eye case. Again, it's a little bit more money. Now so let me tell you the pros. The pros is that if you're shooting like a video, you want to shoot like a video that's going to be kind of more well produced, you can put this on a tripod and go for it. The difficulty with live streaming is that you won't be able to use the lenses if you want to see the screen, because the lenses only work on this side, right? So if I wanted to do a Periscope video or Facebook video and wanted to use this particular eye case, I couldn't use a lens on it. I could pop in my phone, and this is what I was doing originally, and I was like, but I couldn't use my lenses, so I kind of lost the point. So that's why I ended up moving to the clip, where I could switch back and forth. I could have it on one side or the other. So that's kind of the pro and con. But a lot of people do like using the eye case. A lot of journalists will use this. And so it's definitely very, very good. This is the very first tools that I bought for video. But now I switched over to the Mi Photo. Oops. Okay, and then as far as like our tripod, you can basically use any tripod that you want. The tripod that I use is the Manfrotto Compact. This one costs $79. You definitely don't have to spend that much money on a tripod. I think this one that I got here, this Smatree, this S-M-A-T-R-E-E tripod, cost, I think it was around $30. And this one is good for my 360, it's lightweight. I also had to buy this little adapter here, because if I want to keep things plugged in, when I originally attached my 360 camera to this, there was no way for me to plug in. So I couldn't attach my computer to it, I couldn't attach my battery to it, so I had to buy this little extension. So as you start to buy these different things, they're not too expensive, but you know, they're all part of like doing live streaming. Okay, so this is the URL. So if you're curious about all these different tools I just shared, you can just go to ex.pn/equipment, and that'll bring you over to our Experian blog, where we have all the different things that are there. The only thing I'm missing is the battery, which I'll add later today, so you can see what battery we use. It's like $30, and it'll recharge your phone like 6 times. Really, really valuable with live streaming or Snapchat or Pokemon Go.